Beautiful. Okay, so tonight mega menus, introduction, agenda as always, kind of introductions, what's new, today's topic, a Q&A, and we try and finish by 7 o'clock. Here are the organizers. So myself, there's John and Julia. I'll just let everyone say them, introduce themselves. I am Will Brown. I am one of the co-organizers for this meetup. I also co-organize the Sydney WordPress Sydney meetup. I'm trying to reboot the WooCommerce Sydney meetup, but there's not a lot of people who want to go in that one, apparently. I am a developer, mostly consultant as well for WordPress. I do a lot of consultancy, so people ask me lots of questions. That's basically what a consultant is. Ask me a question, I go, I'll Google that or chat GTP that, and then tell them the answer and I get paid for it, which is fantastic. I love working with APIs. So I'm a backend developer, not so much front-end graphics, but definitely, PHP, JavaScript, Python, APIs, all that sort of stuff I love doing. And I've been doing that for over a decade now. See the gray here. Let's see, what else can I say? I'm also currently Vice President of Linux Australia, which is Australia's premier open source evangelist group. So everything open source in Australia kind of goes through Linux Australia. So I've been Vice President for a couple of years, and it's been really exciting. We get to give out grants to organizations, we get to help with open source groups. So if you're not familiar with Linux Australia, go and visit their website and join them as well. It's free. Membership is free. That's enough waffling about me. John, do you want to introduce yourself just now, or do you want to wait until the presentation?
Yeah, I'll just do a quick one now, and then
and
then I can just talk about Elementor after that. I am John, and I am a graphic designer, and I run my own design agency. And most of what I do for clients is building new websites or fixing old websites that are either rubbish or broken. And as I always say on these chats, I kind of fell in love with Elementor around 4 or 5 years ago, and now I just use it for everything. So if a client comes to me and just say, hey, my website doesn't really work, can you fix it? And I went, no, I'm just going to rebuild it using Elementor. Just because I love the way Elementor works, and it just kind of does everything that I normally do as a graphic designer, like making whatever I want, making it work and look however I want. So yes, that's me. And today I will be teaching you about a new part of Elementor. Julia, over to you.
Julia's on mute. I don't know if she'll be. Oh, yep, there we go.
Oh, Julia.
Yeah, sorry guys. I have a lot of background noise and just trying to keep a low profile. Anyway, hello everyone. Happy to be here. I'm just here. I'm not really an organizer, I'd say. The two guys are. I'm just a little bit of a support whenever I can. I love Elementor. I've been using WordPress for many years now, and I'm currently not based in Australia, so just going back to silent and following through.
We appreciate you, Julia. Okay, that's us. Let's go on. So there are a code of conduct. I will post that into the chat as there are. So basically, be respectful, be transparent, just have some fun. This is a community. We're going to let you guys introduce yourselves if you want to. Let us know who you are, what you do, how long you've been using Elementor, what you use it for, and more importantly, what you're drinking. I'm drinking some water because I'm looking after my boy downstairs, and my tea is normal. If you maybe just sum up like a couple of minutes, and then we'll kind of move on from that. So if you want to, I'll just stop the share. If you want to introduce yourselves, hands up or just go for it, and I'll let you do that.
I'll go.
Cool, Barry.
Hi, I'm Barry. I am a digital art director by day and a UI at night. So I work for a company in Sydney called Kablamo. So we build bespoke platforms for big companies. But I would do a lot of maybe like a bit of side projects or projects within the business as well. So I've been using Elementor for a number of years now, and I think the menus has always been tricky and has always been my kind of downfall. So yeah, looking forward to it. But I might have to jump off because I have to get the kids some pizzas. So yeah, that's me.
No worries. Thanks, Barry. I detect an Irish accent there.
Yes, Belfast. I've
Belfast.
been here since 2001. So
Nice. I lived in Dublin for 2 years with my wife, so we love Ireland and Northern Ireland.
Yes, it's a nice spot, Dublin. Expensive, even more expensive than Sydney.
Thanks very much. Anyone else want to introduce themselves? You don't have to. Richard. Richard, your mic's not working. Nothing's coming through, even though you're on mute.
Yeah, Richard, it wasn't mute. Oh, there we are. That's working. What have you pressed?
Zoom doesn't work very well on my laptop for some reason, so I've probably got a minute before you can't hear me again. But my name's Richard. Got some WordPress websites, some affiliate websites, mainly using sort of Gutenberg at the moment. But we've been hearing lots about Elementor, and I've attended the WordPress workshops with Will there, and keen to learn more. Actually, my colleague Joy works mainly on the websites, so I'll be telling her all about this presentation, and she doesn't join later. But that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Tim Etheridge. I've had a website, energywarrior.com.au, built in Elementor. I've cracked onto it in Reddit, and I thought, let's have a crack. And so I'm really wanting to be a downstream editor for my site, and I'm hoping to learn stuff.
Excellent. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Belinda. I've just got my video off at the moment. I've got my daughter in the room with me at the moment. I am a web designer. I started with HTML web design about 17 years ago. Have been working with WordPress for about 9 years now, and curious to see about mega menus with Elementor, because I use Elementor as my main builder, but currently using other plugins to create my mega menus at the moment. So curious to see how Elementor works. Also do WordPress training courses as well, so I teach WordPress.
Excellent. Welcome, Belinda. Anyone else?
No. I'll go. So I'm Lachlan. I am sort of freelance, sort of all-round design. I work with a number of animation companies doing their creative and sort of a lot of their asset and basic direction, graphic design, illustration, a whole lot of different visual design things. But I've always dabbled in web design and probably over the years started with HTML, and then some years ago when Elementor first started, jumped onto it and thought, wow, it's pretty cool to get moving towards a fully visual editor. Obviously, it's all still going in that direction, but I've made a number of mega menus using pop-ups and a whole lot of funky code. So it'd be good to see how you can do it a bit easier. Yeah.
Superb. Thanks for introducing yourself, Lachlan. Okay, I've got 3, 2, 1. No, nobody else. Okay. I've had the experience with other plugins as well. We had, this is going way back 6, 7 years ago. We had an e-commerce website and we used a WordPress plugin. They wanted everything in there. So like full product list. They had hundreds of products. So there's like 50, 60 categories in the mega menu. There was a location map for their 4 offices as well. There was featured product in there. Basically, the menu took up like half the screen. So you can definitely overdo it. Okay, let's do the rest of the screens quickly. I shouldn't really bother doing this because I normally do Elementor updates. There's usually quite a lot to talk about. There's nothing since last time. There's been a few point releases, but nothing new. No tweaks, just a few fixes here and there. You can join our Elementor Australia meetup group on Facebook as well and continue the conversation. I post some things about Elementor regularly on that as well. Have a look at the roadmap. So if you don't know where that is, it's elementor.com/roadmap, and they have 4 columns in there. It's planning, in progress, beta, and release. I don't bother with release because we know what that is, but it's nice to see what they're planning. So they've got CSS selectors in the Pro Builder for Elementor Pro. A few hosting things, a team collaboration if you've got their hosting packages. In progress, this is the move to the Flexbox stuff. So in progress, the grid containers are going to be turned on by default. Improvements to the mega menu, which is very topical, I guess, for tonight. Taxonomy filters, if you don't know what those are, that's, if you've got like blog posts, and if you get like a post query, you can now drop the taxonomy and filter it by categories and tags all dynamically, which is nice. A migration tool for hosting, and in beta, this is the move to the whole Flexbox containers thing. So that's going to be switched on by default now for new websites. So at the moment you have to go into experiments and switch that on, but this is the kind of the slow migration over to moving everything away from sections into containers. So I like to keep an eye on that every month just to see kind of what's happening. As well, you do an eye on the Slack groups, we get access to the developers as well, but it's just nice to see, what they're working on, what's kind of coming up in the next releases. Before I hand over to John, next month, which is October 5th, Thursday again, 6 p.m. same time, I'm going to be covering webinar registration and thank you pages. I've had quite a few clients over the last 6 months, like half a year, been asking me about this because webinars, like podcasts, are actually on the increase, specifically workshops. They're really in the increase. And a lot of people use Eventbrite and other Humanics, other systems, which also they charge you some money to do that. So what I'm going to do next month, I'm going to show you how to build your own webinar registration page, how to link it to your CRM or email system, how to build a dynamic thank you page as well, and like a global calendar link. So you give people links to Google, to Yahoo, to iCal, whatever you're linking in for those. And I'll talk about payments as well. Now, payments not easy to do natively in Elementor, but it can be done with a couple of plugins. So I'll go through that as well. So that's what coming up next month. Just now, I'll hand over to John. John can do a little bit of introduction as to what he's going to talk about, and I'll let him share his screen. So over to you, John.
Thank you, mate. Let's have a look. I always struggle with this sharing part. Let's see if this works. Yep, can everyone see that? Okay, give me a second. Okay, so today we are going to talk about mega menus. And before I get onto that, the first thing to talk about is navigation. Now, I could set up an entire lesson just telling you all about navigation and why navigation is super important and different ways of managing it. But we don't have time for that, so I'll sum it up in one sentence. So this is what to do with navigation. If people can't find things on your website, they will leave. It's as simple as that, basically. So what I'm showing you here is a website that I have built and that I built about 5 years ago. And when I built it 5 years ago, there wasn't that much content on here, and it's a travel blog site. It's called Out and About with Kids, so it's about traveling with your family. And we didn't have that much content. Now we have over 1,000 posts, and the problem is it's really difficult to find anything on there. So let me show you the nav bar, the menu setup that we had. This is built using Elementor, and it's basically using the menu setup that they have inside Elementor. It's not using any plugins or anything like that. So let's just say I am about to go traveling with my family and I'm about to go to Byron Bay. I want to find out some tips for that. So I would go, right, well, where is that on this website? It's in Australia and it's in New South Wales, but I don't get an option beyond that. And if I go to New South Wales, well, what do I see? A hell of a lot of posts. A hell of a lot of posts about New South Wales. It goes to 12 pages, this one. So I'm like, well, where's the Byron Bay one? If I want to find anything about Byron Bay, I have to go and search for it. So what we've got right now did work, and it doesn't work anymore. So this is what I have built. I just created a staging version of the website, and I've built this one. This is the mega menu. So this was the previous menu that when you hovered over each part, had these drop-down options in a vertical list. I have now built this mega menu, which looks the same. So it still has the logo over here. And then we have a link to the homepage. Then we have this. So the problem that we had before was when you hovered over Australia, you just get one vertical list and no subcategories of every category. So I've built this one that not only has every state and territory with the primary locations underneath each one, it also has the rest of the world. So what I've done is I've combined Australia and world and put it all into one mega menu. The difference being, before I had one column, I had one list. Now I have as many as I want. So I have 6 here. So that is one thing that I've created in this mega menu. Now, the other thing, we had this section that was called holiday ideas. And that again was just a simple drop-down menu, vertical menu. Now, when you go to holiday ideas, you get this, which is the same thing. It's still a list of 8 things, but it looks a lot nicer. And it's just going to catch the eye of the customers who come here. Because you'll hover over this before, you just go holiday ideas, yeah, whatever, I'll pick one of those. Now I hover over this and I go holiday ideas. Wow, okay, I like all of these things. What I really like is wine. So I'm going to click on the wine one. So you're just going to create a better experience for customers. People are going to be able to find what they want, and they're just going to enjoy the visual side of it. So they will spend a lot longer looking around your website. They can go to the Byron Bay page, and then if they want to look at something in Whitsundays, they can go to that page. So what I'm going to show you here is 3 things. First of all, how to set up the nav bar, then how to set up this drop down that is a text-based column-based mega menu, and then how to do a image one. And so that's 3 things I'm going to show you here. And I will be going through all of these fairly fast just to show you how it all works. If you want to have a go with this yourself, because this is pretty new to Elementor, just watch everything you've got here. Write down any questions you've got. We can answer them at the end. But also, the video will be available on our Facebook page after this. So if you want to have a go with it, just watch that afterwards, and you can kind of go through it step by step. Pause the video, keep going. So I'm just trying to move. I don't know if you can see this. There it is. The Zoom thing was at the top of my page, so I couldn't click on these tabs. So here we are. So we're going to go from this one here to this one here. And I'm going to show you how I created this. So first of all, dashboard. First thing we need to do is change a few settings in the Elementor backend. Why? Because some of it is still in the experiment stage. They haven't quite got it, fully sorted yet. So you need to set up a few things. You need to activate a few elements in here. So the way that, if you've done this before, you'll know, come in here to Elementor, go to settings and go to features. And as you can see here, these are ongoing experiments. So you just need to make sure that 3 things are switched on if you want to work on this mega menu. Number 1 is the main one here, the Flexbox container. Make sure that is set to active. You can do that on your website. And as far as I'm aware, it won't change anything on your website because the old version is still going to work. This is more for setting up new things. If I'm wrong about that, let me know in the Q&A later on. But make sure Flexbox container is active. And then the other 2 that you need, nested elements, make sure that is active. And then the last one, the obvious one from there, menu. And you can see here, menu is the obvious one to find. If you've forgotten what I've said, it will say down here, requires Flexbox container, nested elements. So there's all the boring technical stuff out the way. How I'm going to create this is I'm going to go in templates. I'm going to go to the theme builder. And you have to understand that my internet in this house is horribly slow. So this is going to take a lot longer. We have to use this 5G Telstra thing here. So here we go. So come in the theme builder, hover over header, and then click on the plus to add a new header. And when it is fully loaded, that will bring you through to here. Now, if you've done it this way before, you will see that you get, if you have the Pro version, these pre-made menu options. Don't choose those because they are all made using the old menu system, not the mega menu. So just click the X, and that will bring you in here. So what we're going to do is start by creating the nav bar at the top here. And so I will drop in containers at the top, and I just need 2, one for the logo and one for the menu. So click add new container. And then you'll get this little option here. And if you've used the Flexbox container setup so far, you'll be a bit more familiar with this in that there's more options here than you would have seen before. So this one's, you get different grids and stuff, and we can use this for setting up blogs and everything. But for this one, I just need the simple version, which is 2 columns. So there we are, that has dropped that in. Then all I want to do, keep it simple, go to the widgets over here. First thing I want, site logo, drop that in. Don't know if you guys use that in your header, just drop it in because it automatically goes through to the home page when people click on it. Then on the right-hand side, I need to add in the menu. So write in the word menu and you'll see what comes up. If you've done this previously in the old version of Elementor, you would normally drop in this one that says WordPress menu. Don't do that. Drop in this one that just says menu. It should say mega menu. That would be a lot easier to find, but it doesn't. It just says menu. So drop that one in. Then just from a design point of view, I'm just going to have to play around with a few of these things. That's way too big. So I'm just going to click on my pencil up here to edit the site logo, click on style, and I'll make it smaller. 35% should do. Then click on content to align that to the left. Then the elements over here, I want that to be aligned to the right. So I'll click on the menu, on the pencil, edit menu, item position to the end. So yes, just have a look at my own notes here. Okay, so that's everything that we have set up here. 2 more things for this. As you can see, if I sort of scroll down in this page, the menu disappears. Depends what you want to do with your nav bar, but I always like to have what we call a sticky one. So as I scroll up and down, the menu is always there. So to make that happen, select the main overall container, go into advanced, and choose motion effects, sticky, top. And that just means now as I scroll down, you can see that stays where it is. The other thing you can see is that sort of things going behind it, showing up. That's because I haven't given the nav bar a color yet. So again, just click on the container, go to style, background type, color, make it white. So there we go. So that's everything set up in the nav bar that we need for now. What we're going to do now is look at everything on the right-hand side, everything that's in the menu, and do 3 different things inside here. So click on your pencil again. It's automatically, when we drop it in, this is just the default, it's dropped in 3 things. I only want to work with 3 things, so that's already perfect and working for me. So the first one that I've got here, let's just call that one home, because I want that to just be a navigation back to the home page, because not everyone realize you can click on the logo and go back to the home page. It's better to have both options. So as you can see, I've just written home in there, and that has changed the title up there to home. Then the link that would go in here, a few different ways of doing that. The way I normally do it is I click on dynamic tags and then go to site and internal URL, because that's what I'm doing. I'm pointing at an internal URL. Click on this one. Then in the settings, in type, select content, and then go in the search. I'm searching for the home page. Show up soon. There we are. So all I've done here is quite the simple thing. I've just said that's the home page, and when you click on it, it will take you through to the home page. Then the next one, item 2, let's call that destinations. And that's what I'm going to do over here, is I'm going to create this little thing. As you can see, this one, when I hover over it, it doesn't give me a drop down because it's just a simple click, whereas destinations is a drop down. So what I want to do here is not give it a link because it doesn't go anywhere. It is just drop down. So I'm going to click drop down content. And as you can see, that's added in the little arrow over here so that customers know that it is a drop down. And they know that when they hover over it, they'll get more options. And as you can see over here, it says click on the menu item to edit its drop-down content. So let's do that. Let's go over to destinations. And what we're doing here is we're saying what's going to happen when people hover over it. And so it's just given me another option to add in additional containers. So again, I will click on the plus to add new containers and select my structure. What I want for this one is 6 straight columns. It's not actually giving me the option of 6, but I just want one row and multiple columns. So I'm just going to choose 4 because that's the most. That's dropped in 4 columns. Duplicate once, duplicate twice. Done. So now what I'm going to show you how to do in here is how to just drop in a sort of main parent category title, and then how to drop in a smaller subcategory menu. So we'll just do this. I won't show you the whole thing because that will take a long time. I'll just show you how to do New South Wales. So what we'll do is we'll start on this first column on the left, go back over to your widgets, type in heading, and drop that in. And this one I'm calling New South Wales. When this automatically goes in, it's selected the H2 heading tag, but that's not the font I want to use here. So let's just choose H3. I want to use this smaller sans serif font, and this is the condensed version. So that's what I've got. As you can see from this one here, I've made it a little bit smaller and bolder and blue. So I'll just do some design stuff, quickly show you that. Edit heading, style, typography, size, 18, weight, bold, text color, accent. Did that super fast. Not that important for making the menu, but I'm a designer, it has to look good. So what we have there is a heading title that will link through to the overall New South Wales page, because people may still want to go there, not go straight to Byron because they don't know where they want to go in New South Wales. So again, we need to click edit heading content, give it a dynamic tag, internal URL. Then from the type, because this is a category, I'm going to choose taxonomy. And then in search and select, I will write in New South Wales. And when the options come up, that is choosing the category for Australia and New South Wales. I have the site set up so that when people go to that category, they see the full list, the archive list of every New South Wales post in date order. So that is going there. So we have our heading set up. Now what we need to do is drop in a menu below that, a smaller menu that will be the subcategories of New South Wales. So come back into your widgets and type in the word menu. Try and type in word. And then what we want to drop in here is the old version of the menu. So the one that we used previously, the WordPress menu, is going to live inside this menu. So it's kind of the old menu inside the new menu. So I'll drop that in. And the way this works, if you have multiple menus set up on your website, you can select them here. So this is what I've done previously to this, is set up individual menus for each subcategory of the parent category. So I have one here for New South Wales. And if I select that, it's given me all the subcategories. If you don't know how to do that, well, it's just the same as setting up any menu. And for your own website, you may just have a main header menu in here, and you may have a footer menu. But what you can do, as you can see here, is just create multiple sub menus. And that's done the regular way. So go in here to dashboard, go to appearance, go to menus, same way you'd normally set up a menu. And I'll just show you an example of one here. This is one I was playing with. Just delete that because I was going to show you. I may have done a practice of this video earlier. So here we are in the menus. I'm just going to click on create new menu. And I will call this one New South Wales fake. So I'm just going to create a fake one of this and go create menu. And then, look, I'm sure you've all done this one a million times before anyway, but if you want to select what goes in this one, over here, what I want to do is drop in categories. And as you can see, that's not in my options here. To make sure that you can put categories into a menu, go up here to screen options, top right, and make sure that categories is selected. This is where you can just choose what you would put into your menus. Things I don't want, add groups, affiliate links, none of that, but I do want the categories. So when I scroll down here, you'll see categories is there. And what I'm going to do is just add in all of the subcategories that I have set up. And what I've done on this website is made sure that every post that is about Sydney is linked to both the Australia category New South Wales category, and Sydney category. So Sydney went in, Byron Bay. That's that wrong. Oh. And then, I can't remember what else we had in there. Dubbo was in there. Just write Dubbo for now. Into menu. Click Save menu. Then what you'll find when you come back to your menu editor is that will be an option in here. It's not showing up yet because I just need to save my draft and refresh the page. What I didn't do then, which I should always do, is just save your draft every 5 minutes because my computer keeps crashing. So there's my recommendation for you. And then just reload the page. And when it actually finishes loading, which seems to take a long time, go back over here to destinations, click on that. And then when we go to menu, you will see that I have the option of New South Wales fake there, and that is dropped it in. So that's basically how you get a sort of sub menu below subcategory menu below a parent category. Just design things here. These are done the same way that you would normally do it. I don't like that little line underneath, so I'm going to edit this. So pointer, none. I get rid of that little hover line. Then just style. Again, I'm just being picky here as a graphic designer. What do we say? We said 18. We said open sans condensed. And then my line height, that's a bit too big. Let's get that to so that's basically how you do it. That's how you get a menu in here. If you want to put different ones in, you don't need to start again with the whole thing. You can just right click on the pencil, click duplicate, drag it down there, go in here. What's another state? Victoria. Change your internal URL from New South Wales to Victoria. Then duplicate the menu, drag it down below, just so you've got all the styling and everything set up correctly. Click on your pencil, change that to Victoria. And then it works. So that's quite an easy one to set up if you have all these sub-menus set up and you have categorized all of your blog posts in the right way. When you have 1,000 posts on your website, that can take a long time to go through and fix them all. But as you can see before, what we had on the old website, I would go to Australia and all I would see would be New South Wales, and I'd bring in this page. Whereas now, because I've set all this up, I can just go to destinations and I will see every state/territory and then every subcategory. So if I want to find out about Byron Bay, I click on Byron Bay. What do I see? I see the Byron Bay page. So that is the advantage of having a mega menu over the regular menu, something I couldn't do before, because if I wanted to do Australia and then underneath each state and territory, all of the highlights, that would just keep going forever and ever and ever and ever, and it would go off the bottom of the page. It would be too long a list to leave in one vertical one. Or the other one is you can kind of click on one of these and you get a little drop-down menu then. This is just much more better for navigation because I can see everything all in one go. And it's go, all right, okay, actually, I'm thinking of going to Europe next year. They've got some posts on Germany. That's exactly where I'm going to go. I wouldn't have known that was there before. So that is how you do a text-based version in the mega menu. Now I will show you how to do the image-based one. And if you don't have any subcategories for these categories, this is a really good way to do this one. So let's go back to our editor and click again on the menu. And let's just say that item number 3 is holiday ideas. And we'll make that a drop-down menu. And if I click on that, drag widgets here. So I'm going to click on the plus. And what I want here is extra rows, which was something you couldn't do before in the old container setup, but it's always there automatically now. So what I actually want is 8. I want 1 row and 8 columns. Again, not available. But I can choose this one that's 6 because that's the closest. And then what I'll do is I will duplicate this one on the top line and that one on the bottom line. So it has duplicated it, but it's dropped them down onto the next row. What I will show you is you can actually have an unlimited number of rows on this. Obviously, you don't want to go too many, so it's going to drop off the bottom of the page. But it shows you can do that. And this is just because each one of these containers, as you can see over here on the left, has gone in as an actual third of the overall container. 33.3 reoccurring. So what I'm going to do is just change that to 25% because I want 4 in this row. So let's change that one, and then a super fast way to make sure they are all that way. There may be a faster way, but this is where I do it. Right click on edit container, go copy, go to the next one, paste style. Next one, paste style, paste style, paste style. There possibly is a faster way of doing it, but it's only taking me a few seconds. There we go. And now we have 8 containers inside the overall main container. So what we're going to do is drop in the hoverable image into here with the text on top of it. And that is a call to action. So come over here into your widgets and write in call to action. And I don't know if any of you guys have used these before. They're really, really good if you kind of play around with them and kind of choose how they should work, because they kind of allow you to do multiple different things. There are some limits in it. If you buy extra plugins, you've got a lot more images for options for this. But we're going to stick with the basic Elementor Pro version in here. So it's dropped in just the default call to action. If you've used these before, you'll know you have 2 options. One is classic. Classic, you have the image at the top, text below. And then you have cover opposite, image in the background, text on top. And in terms of the content, you've got 3 things in here automatically. You have a title, you have a description, and you have button. The only one I actually want in here is the title. So I'm going to type in theme parks into here. And then I'm going to use my dynamic tag to say that this is going to go, no, not. Ignore that. First thing I'm going to do is then delete the description. And I'm going to, delete the text from description, and it just disappears. So the only thing you can see is the title and the button. And then I'm going to delete the text from the button. Buttons are also gone as well. It's not just an empty button. It's just not there anymore. Then what I'm actually going to do is put my link in here. Not that one at the top. Ignore that. Because what I want to do is choose another dynamic tag. Internal URL. And choose the theme parks category. There it is. So now that I've done that, you will then just see this option appear at the bottom, and it says apply link only on the button. Well, I've got rid of the button, so I want to choose the opposite option, which is the whole box. So that just means that when people hover over it now, as you can see, my finger's coming up on this one. I can click in the corner here. It just means that I can click anywhere in there. I don't have to scroll down to a button. The button looks messy being on top, and it's just you have to click there. It's better if you can click on everything. Okay, so now just a few simple design things. Going to change it to H4, just because I want this sans serif capitalized font. Then just go into style, go to content, title typography. Again, just being picky here. Let's make it 20 pixels wide and make it bold. Yeah, that's what I want. Go back to content, choose the image. So this is your background image. And I've uploaded all of these images here. These are all the 8 at the top here that I'm going to use in this section. First one is theme parks. So let's drop in the theme parks image. And that's it basically. So there you have it there. I'm just going to do a few more design things to make it look the way I want it to look. First up, it's too tall. I don't want it to be big squares. I want it to be a little bit smaller. So edit call to action, style, height, change that to vertical height in the options there, 20. There we go. That's perfect. The other thing I did on the live one, you might not have seen this, was I like a little sort of curve around the box. If you can look on Zoom right now, we kind of have these curves around there. It's a nice little touch. So to change that, it's not where you would normally think to find it. It's actually in the advanced section. And then you scroll down to border. And then in here, I can type in a border radius. 15 pixels should be good. There we are. Let's put the curves around it. Now, if you just want to change the hover effects, what I've got now, the text isn't quite readable on top of it. It's like on top of a sort of full image there. So I'm going to change a couple of things in hover effects. First of all, as you can see here, content hover animation is grow, and that's the text that is growing. I don't want the text to grow, so I'm just going to change that to none. As you can see, the text stays in the same place. And at the moment, it's kind of zooming in. I actually want that to zoom out, the image. So it starts off big, as I hover over, it zooms out. Then the only other thing I want to do is put a little bit of color over the top of it, just so the text theme parts is a little bit more readable. So again, overlay color, and choose your color in here. I'll just choose pure black for the moment. Obviously, that's not going to work. Then I'll just drop down the opacity on that to, where do we want to go? 26. Yeah, so there we go. Then that's your first one done. And once you've kind of got the styles of that all sorted and you're happy with it, then it's quite simple. Just duplicate it. Duplicate it 7 times. Which I won't do here. I'll just do 4 of them. And then it's kind of set up the way you want it to look so that they're all going to be identical. And then it's very easy to change them. So just go to your next one, click on your pencil, choose your image. Next one's cruising. So I'll choose the cruising image. Go to content, cruising, internal URL. Choose cruising from here. Yeah. And that's it. And then you just do that 7 more times and you can do it that fast. So everything I've showed you here, once you know what to do, you can actually create the whole thing probably in 30 minutes, 45 minutes if you know what to do, because you just do it once in one column and then duplicate and then just change the content with each one. And then what you end up with is a nav bar that works. What we have here now, it's boring. It doesn't look exciting and it's not good for navigation in that I don't know where I'm going in New South Wales. I don't know where I'm going in Europe. Now I can go over here and I can put whatever I want into these sections. So as you can see, even for Africa, we don't have that many posts, but we have a few on South Africa and then just Safari. That's not a country, but I can put in whatever I want in this. So I'm going to Europe by train, Europe with kids. And then, yeah, if I want to explore anything in Sydney, click on that page. Then if I want to go and find out about wine regions, I'm excited by this because I love cycling and I love drinking wine. So I'm going to click on that one. And there it is. So yeah, it's as simple as that. You basically use the Flexbox container and then you create your nav bar at the top and then you create different drop-down menus like this. And that's how it all works. So that's everything. I'll stop sharing. And if anybody has any questions on that, just let me know.
That was fantastic, John. It's always great to see someone actually building something. I just want to say officially, we do not condone cycling and drinking wine at the same time.
Cycle first, then drink the wine, yeah?
And John, I think you should definitely have an option that says traveling Europe by train with kids.
Yes. That's good advice, yeah.
I had a quick look for like pros and cons for mega menus. There weren't too many cons, mostly pros. A lot of people saying it's a good way to visually represent like main links. It's good for navigation as well. There was one article that said it might be bad for SEO, depending on the way you set up your links. So if you got a link to another page, it's got a whole heap of pages on it, that flattens your structure out, and that could be bad for SEO. But that was about it. I had a look for stats as well. There wasn't too many stats. There's somebody who compiled a list of 142 websites across a whole load of different sectors, and they basically had a look to see how many of them used a mega menu. I know 141 is a small sample, but they found 54% of those were using some sort of form of mega menu. So a lot of interesting stats there. But yeah, so I'll throw over to anyone who wants to ask some questions, particularly about the design for mega menu.
Paul has said, any thoughts? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, yeah, just explain a bit more.
Sorry, yeah, carry on, John, you can go.
Yeah, no, what was it you wanted to ask?
So like websites, so we yeah, so the main focus on my websites is SEO, and mega menus is like I have mega menus because of that. So I think it depends a little bit on the website. Like if because the good thing about having mega menus is it just creates so many more internal links to pages. As long as it's sort of, it's there after, without JavaScript, and Google can render it and all the rest of it. On some websites, if you like sort of got a website like that's doing holidays on Australia, holidays on US, and they're two completely different things, sometimes it can cause a bit of an issue having all of that in the mega menu. But I noticed, like, I was having I mean, your mega menu looks awesome, by the way. But one thing like I do look at is like how much code there is, and how, because you can have the best website, best content, but Google has to crawl it, right? And I noticed on this Elementor mega menu, there just seems to be so much code there. Is there anything that can be done about that?
So from my point of view, being the designer, not that I know about. Now, if there's a lot of code in there, that could just be coming down to it still being an experimental stage for Elementor, and that they are trying to improve all of that. I think, look, from a designer point of view, what it says for me is there may be extra code in there and it may slow down my website. However, being a graphic designer and not a developer, it works very well for me because it's allowing me, without having to buy an extra plugin, to build something that I know works in terms of navigation. And the value of that to the customers coming to this website kind of goes beyond the little slowness that's going to come from having that extra code in there. So I don't know anything about the code side of it, how slow it's going to make it. But I just know the benefit of it. But Will, do you know anything about that side of it, or?
Yeah, it's basically the same as you, John. You've got very limited control over Elementor. It's a product. That's the way they've set it up. So you can see from the mega menu, it's using the containers, which is a new experiment, the Flexbox containers, which have less divs inside them than the old sections and columns. So there's that, which is good. I haven't had a look at the menu. So you know how John was using the WordPress menu inside the mega menu. I've not had a look at that to see whether that's been moved over to containers yet. I know that Element are doing that. They're slowly moving all the widgets over to a container base rather than sections. So you might see a little bit of improvement in that in regards to like depth. But in general, no, there's no developer control over reducing the amount of depth or hierarchy. It is what it is.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I think you're right about that. Well, that's what I'm kind of reading a lot about these Flexbox containers, in that is going to speed things up because it is using a lot less code. And it's just sort of like, I've sort of seen this from other people who have built websites using Elementor. It's just sort of like, right, here's one block, here's another container. And it was just kind of too many things going on to once. I'm like, you could just stack all of that on top of each other and that will speed it up. And they're kind of laughing at me like that's not going to make a big difference. I don't know if it is, but I know that it's just creating extra code, because if you have another block with a block inside it and a block inside it, that's going to take longer to load than just one block with all your containers inside. So this is what the Flexbox container is doing. Based on what you just said there, Will, about the dropping that WordPress menu in, there is another way of doing that in theory, in that I could just drop a text box in there and then highlight each part of that text and then say that the link in that is going through to that page. The same way you would just drop in the text editor, and then let's just say you're writing a post on best places to stay in Byron Bay, and then you've got an affiliate link to some hotel, you link out to that. Yeah, it's just highlighting text. So I don't know if that's a better way to do it or a faster way to do it. I just found that this was kind of like an easy way for me to set it up. But in terms of speed or the best way to set it up.
I mean, also, like what I meant was not so much on how quickly the page loads, but like how much Google has got to pull through to get to those links, or how much it's got to pull through to get to the content further down, like the HTML to content sort of ratio. That's
yeah, look, I think a lot of this comes down to the overall setup of your website. And again, I'm the designer and I should know a lot more about SEO and everything than I do. But this company that I work for, we have an SEO expert who is coming in and is basically just sort of reordering everything. Because at the moment, if I want to get to Byron Bay, do I have to go here, here, and here? Or could I just go here? And he's just playing around with the whole sitemap and moving things around. And I'd like to do an interesting lesson on that, basically, when he's finished with all of that in 6 months, just to show how he has improved it and maybe just get him to talk on here about the reason why. Because from my point of view, I don't really understand it the same way he does. But from a simple navigation point of view, I am just showing you my own website here, by the way, so you'll know. But
oh, it looks awesome. This is one of the best menus I've seen, by the way.
I built this in Elementor. But look, so what we have on this website is 1,000 posts, and then it can be difficult to find things. So this is why we've got all of these multiple things here, which is, as Will likes, Europe by train. It's just kind of breaking it all down. So I have all of these multiple different categories, whereas my website, and this is what I say to people, they're like, I want this tab and this tab and this tab and this tab. And I'm like, nah, slow it down. Keep it simple. Keep it obvious. So I'm a graphic designer and I do 3 things. One is digital, one is print, one's branding. And then if you want to get in touch with me, get in touch. That's it. So this is all I've got. There's no drop down with any of these. So if you go to digital one, you see what I've made in digital. And if you go to print, you see that. And then if you go to contact, it's there. What I could do, as you can see on print here, is these are, not everything I've ever made. I always pick up my top 9 things and then replace them when I do something better. I could have those in the drop-down menu here, but from a navigation point, that didn't seem the best way to do it. They didn't need their own page. They didn't need their own category. They're just here. So when I click on print, I go through to this menu and I can see everything in one go. So this is essentially a mega menu, but it's just not in a menu. It's on a separate page. So yeah, I think my own advice there is just try and keep it as simple as you possibly can. And if we are doing New South Wales in this one, we would have a page on Byron Bay, but then inside that page, you would probably have best places to eat in Byron Bay, best places to sleep in Byron Bay, best surf clubs in Byron Bay. They don't need their own category. That's taking it a step too far. So that's, my advice on that.
Cool. All right.
Belinda raised a couple of questions in the chat. She says it'd be interesting to do some speed testings before and after using the Elementor Mega Menu versus a Mega Menu plugin to see if there's any speed differences. That would be a quite interesting test to do to see what happens. So that's something I might do. But she's asking, are there any pros and cons to using the dynamic tags versus just linking straight to the URL in the nav bar?
That's a good question. And I'd hope that you probably know a bit more about this than I do, Will. Just basically, I've only just started building this mega menu. I did it this week, basically. But I was just kind of like reading just, some of the information from Elementor that they send through and everything about how it all works. And a couple of times in their text, it just says, as we always say, you should use dynamic tags for linking. And I'm like, wait, is that something we're supposed to do? And I don't think I've ever done it that way before. I think I've kind of just done it the traditional way, where it's just like, hey, here's a link, /home/ something like that. And it's internal. That's why it doesn't have the URL at the start. It just has the slug. But I don't actually know why Elementor are telling me to use these dynamic tags. Do you know anything about that, Will?
Yeah, so think about this. If you start just putting the URLs in a nav bar, for example, in your example, John, where you just drag a text link down or a header link down and just put the URL, then if you've got thousands of posts, then once you start going in and updating things, maybe you want to change Europe by train to Europe by train and kids, for example, then you've only got that one place to go and change it. If you're using all these dynamic stuff, you go into the menu and change it, and then that ripples through the whole website if you're using dynamic tags, and it will change it automatically for you. Whereas if you're just putting URLs in, then you've got to remember to go into that particular page, that particular area, and update the URL as well. So that's one of the reasons why they tell you to kind of use the dynamic tags, because it all kind of ripples through everything. So that's definitely one of the pros. One of the cons is because you're using dynamic tags, technically it's taking a little bit more time to render your content. So if you're just adding a URL as a text box or a header, then that's just there, and the WordPress PHP doesn't have to do anything. When you're bringing in dynamic tags, you're doing another couple of calls out to fetch that data in from somewhere. So it's going to take a little bit of extra time, but we're talking about CPU ticks or a database request, things like that. So, it depends. I think, again, it goes back to what you were saying, John, it's return on investment. You'll know that page builders slow down websites. There's no getting around that. But it's the convenience of having that functionality there, not having to hire a developer, being able to do it yourself quickly and fast. So yeah, there's pros and cons to both of those. But yeah, great questions, Belinda.
Thank you. That makes sense.
Cool. I just want to go quickly back, just one before Paul posted something. He says, any thoughts on accessibility?
In what sense, accessibility?
So screen readers and I guess screen readers would probably be the main thing I would think when we talk about accessibility.
Just to see how it looks on everything, sorry, or?
The issue would more be for people that have some impairment, whether it be mobility impairment, like they can't use mice, and so they're using voice commands, for example, or visual aids like screen readers. So that has impact because instead of one item on a menu, you've now got 50, for example. And so instead of getting a very quick prompt, you're now getting a giant list, for example. It's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of things. I'm just wondering if anyone's got any thoughts about that.
Definitely, in terms of what I've done here, in terms of my thoughts on this, is yes, there is more content here. However, this is the space I was using at the time, right? And that is using 8 different things. Let's say I wanted to put 50 different things in there. I'd have to make them all about 1 pixel, 1 point, all the text or something like that. So what I've done here, and I don't know if this was intentional, just the way my brain was working, is when I hover over this, the size of the text is actually identical here, or almost identical. So it's not reducing the size of anything. It's just saying that when I hover over this, here's your options. And then when I hover over this, there's more options. That's why I have split it up like this, the way that you have the parent category in there as well. What I should do here is have a sort of extra title at the top, and over on the left-hand side, on the left half, just put Australia, and then on the right-hand side, put rest of the world. Just because of where our eyes know that they're falling, right? Because I'm going to destinations. I'm on a travel website. I know I want to go somewhere. I've got a trip planned somewhere. If I press destinations, if I hover destinations, and on the left-hand side, I see Australia, my eyes will fall over that side. And then I can see it neatly split up into states and territories. So I know which one I'm looking for. So I would say in terms of a navigation point of view, from an accessibility point of view, it doesn't make any difference. And in if anything, it makes it easier to find what you're looking for. So I think it's actually an improvement. In terms of what it does, in terms of making it bigger, that still works the way. So it's still, text in a desktop that I can zoom in on and stuff. In terms of those devices, those plugins where it will read it out to you, I don't know about that, sorry. And I've never set that up in a website before. And if that was necessary, then I would get an expert in to work on that sort of thing. So
yeah, so if you're dropping in the WordPress menus, WordPress is a particular, I don't think it's AAA, it could be AA accessibility standard. So there'll be some sort of standard there if you're using the WordPress menus for accessibility. We're talking about screen readers 3 there. And if you want to add additional ARIA stuff, there's plenty of plugins there that you can install that will allow you to specify your own ARIA labels for those navigation ones specifically for screen readers.
Thanks, though. Well, yeah, that's really interesting. Actually, now you've kind of mentioned that. I've never really thought about that side of it because, again, for my own website, I mean, that's the one I should be thinking about, but I'm obviously always just working for clients. And if it was something that client was to ask for, I'd figure out the way to get it set up. But now that you've said that, I'm like, well, maybe this is something I should be recommending to them and get myself more work to set that up. So, yeah.
I just did I just did a test on page speeds with your staging URL, and on the desktop score for accessibility it's 78, and on mobile it's 91. So because accessibility is like quite a big SEO, well, it's not that big, but it's a bit of a ranking factor as well. So yeah, the accessibility score looks fairly reasonable on that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
not like slightly has it then, but only slightly.
No. I mean, no, it looks okay. It's not like like 30 out of 100 or whatever. I mean, just without you having even like looked at it or played around with it, 70 out of desktop and 91 on mobile is pretty good.
That's actually not bad, yeah. So, I mean, look, in terms of the overall speed for the overall website, well, this is why we're building a brand new website quite soon, because there's a lot there. Because again, this goes back to what I said at the very, very start of today's lesson. When people ask me to fix their website, I now say, I'm going to rebuild it. I'm just going to build a new one using Elementor. This one, I did take an old version that had been built using some other page builder, and there is so much wrong in there. There is so much code that should not be in there. And not being a developer, I have absolutely no idea what that is. I paid people to try and look at it and try and fix it. So with this one, I'm just going to start again, basically, and just start with the Hello Elementor theme. I've already got my mega menu sorted, and then just build everything around that, and then just export all the blogs and then import them into the new one. But yeah, anyway.
I guess that, sorry. Another question with mega menus where you've got quite a large a number of columns, or you've got images, is how it works responsively and how much work you have to do. Because I find with a lot of that sort of stuff, it's playing around to make it responsive across all devices that is where most of the work is.
This is the exact question I was hoping someone would ask me. Basically, let's just go back into our editor here. Still sharing, aren't I?
Yeah.
I had a quick look at it because, again, I just worked on this week, and I'm like, I'll just show you it works in desktop because if we're doing all devices and stuff. Then when I go to mobile, I've got this sort of thing, and it works the same way. So, I mean, I'd have to play around with the positioning of all of this, obviously, but I have the little drop-down menu here, and it will come in with this drop-down. For holiday ideas, I could make each one of these a square, and I could just do columns of 2. So you'd have all 8 of them in there. That may fit in, but it may not. So I may need to make them kind of smaller. But then what you're doing is you're playing around with a small amount of space to try and get all of those images in there. You may just want to switch that back to a text version for that. But then the big one is destinations. And well, these have kind of all come in as further drop-down menus. I'd have to play around with this, but essentially what you want is some sort of accordion setup where I'll see New South Wales, and then if I click on that, it will automatically create the drop-down. Because what we have here, well, this is the fake one. What we have here, you couldn't have all of that in a list on mobile. So then it's kind of coming down to how you want to break it down. And what I've got here is the 8 states and territories, and then I've got 6 of the, what are they? They're not continents, places in the world or whatever. So that's 14 in total. 14 as a drop-down list, that would work. So if I go in here and I click on destinations, and then I see Australia at the top, and then all 8 states and territories, and then I see world, and it's split up into 6 of the areas. And then when I click on the first one, I get a drop-down like that. And then when I click on the next one, that drop down will disappear. And I know that's something Elementor have started to bring in with the new accordion thing. Don't know whether that would work inside here, possibly not. But yeah, essentially that. And look, I mean, it kind of does just come down to what I've shown you here. Definitely works for desktop. Then it's kind of playing around with it and just seeing if that does work on mobile. If it's too much, you can just do a different version. And this is the beauty of Elementor. You know, I could just hide this one on mobile and then create a sort of mobile version of this menu where instead of having 5 things in this menu, it only has 2. And all I'm doing is picking out the ones that I know people definitely want to look at, the one that get the most page views. So yeah, still needs some work to figure that one out. But it is there. And yeah, I think this is it. I think this is kind of, I think the best way to look at it, this is sort of one of our rival websites, Holiday with Kids. I think it's just good to just go to, they've kind of done, this is where I got these ideas basically. I'm not actually using this for our website, but they have the text one, the drop down, and then the image hover sort of thing. It's just good to have a look at how they do it on mobile. And when I click on this, they've kind of got that basically. So when I click on, I shouldn't have gone through to destinations, but yeah, so everything that you can see here, this is what I would want to create in Elementor, is just the main primary categories. And then when I click on one of these, I get a drop down of extra subcategories. And when I click on one, it should send the other one back up. That's the only thing they've got here. So here we go, destinations, and then it says Australia. And then when I click on that, New South Wales. And then when I click on that, then I get Byron Bay. So it's a little bit harder to find it on mobile, but it is there. And everything that they've got on desktop does work this way. Then it just kind of comes down to, do I want too much on mobile, less on mobile? And I guess that does come down to the overall thing of, if I'm looking at something this on my desktop, I'll probably spend longer working around the website than I will on my phone. Phone, I just like to sit out in my garden and just kind of like scroll through, whatever. I'm always a lot faster on the phone. So you may want to do slightly less options, I think.
Yeah. I guess if it's an existing site, you can see what the usage is
Exactly
between the two. How much you need to put into the mobile.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. You can obviously see, where your page views are coming from. But I mean, generally our overall website is mostly mobile that is being used on, which for a travel website, you'd think, well, should it be that way or whatever? But I think it's just sort of doing a bit for every device and then just testing them all out. And if you just kind of see that, your page views are dropping on mobile, it's probably because you've got too many things or not enough things. And I think it's just sort of doing an A versus B test really with that.
I think bear in mind as well that this is an alpha widget. And so a lot of things that the developers are looking at will be taken into consideration. It is going to change quite a bit. What you're seeing here is, our way of creating a mega menu. So you've seen that John's dropped in the WordPress menu widget. That's why you're getting it rendered as those little hamburger bars in each one. So I think the developers need to look at how to integrate the sub items a lot better within the whole mega menu. Still have that flexibility, but when you go into mobile, have an option that you can display those submenus in a particular way. So we'll probably see that filtering through in the next few releases of Elementor, but certainly a good start for that.
Yeah, I think that's interesting in that they are testing things, and I've kind of just done this my way, and that doesn't mean it's the right way. I dropped in that WordPress menu because I thought that was kind of the obvious way to do it, put a menu inside a menu. Yeah. But maybe Google it, maybe check out and see what other people are saying about this. And maybe that isn't the best way to do it. Maybe a text-based version is better because that's going to then transfer a lot better to mobile. Who knows? I mean, I think the menu one kind of seems like the obvious one because then that does just convert to a drop-down. But I mean, I can just show you, this is our current website. I'm still showing that. Basically, this is what we have on desktop. And this is, I don't often buy in a lot of plugins, but for our mobile menu, I did buy in a plugin for this one. So when I click, so this is our current website, the one slide, and then I click on that, you get this. And this is just using the unlimited Elementor plugins. And this is kind of like the way we'd want it to work, basically. So I click on it and I get this nice little pop-up, which has social media at the top. Then we click on Australia, I get the drop-down of New South Wales. What I then want is to be able to click on New South Wales and see Byron Bay and Sydney and all of that. So at the moment, I would have to play around with the Elementor one, but whether it's going to work as well as this plugin does, that's what's hard to say, really. And this plugin, didn't cost me a lot to get the license to use all of this. I use it on quite a few websites. And when I was building them for clients, I'm like, look, I'm just going to use the plugin because that's just faster than me trying to figure this thing out. And this is just kind of perfect, and it has improved our sort of page views on mobile for this one. So sometimes a plugin is good, but obviously we are here to teach is how you can just do something inside Elementor.
Okay, there's no more questions in the chat. I think we've done a good session today. Thanks very much, Jon. Well done. That was super. So I think I'm going to let everyone go now. Thanks so much for being here. It's always good to see smiling faces. Thanks for your questions and your contribution as well. Thank you very much, Jon, for an amazing practical example. So just a reminder, next month I'm talking about creating a webinar registration page and dynamic thank you page as well, and going over payments for that as well. So it'd be great if you can join us next month. But yeah, round of applause for Jon. Thank you very much. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
Yep. Thank you all for your time, and I'll see you next month. Bye, everyone.
See you all next month, guys.